Hello, and welcome to another episode of ChargersCast. I'm your host, Kirk Brewer. Been a Chargers fan for 40 plus years, and with 40 plus years of experience, our goal is to bring you a unique perspective on our Los Angeles, formerly San Diego Chargers. We are a podcast by fans for fans, and I have with me today a couple of my regular friends and diehard Chargers fans like myself joining me for this podcast. Brennan Isham from Chargers District and my buddy Andrew Loya from Bolt Casa. Let's jump right into it, gentlemen. We got a lot to talk about, and it's overwhelmingly good. I mean, there's probably a few things we can kind of, nitpick a little bit, but overwhelmingly, I think we're starting to see, our boys consistently getting better week to week and seeing some improvement. So let's jump right in. By the way, celebrate another W by our boys. Denzel, stay hydrated, my man. So we got the win. Again, this is one of those games, okay? And this is the last of those games for a stretch here. That is, we would probably categorize a game we should have won. And we did win again, okay? But this is kind of the last one of those you should win it games. And so it's nice to get this one in the bank for us. We won the game 27-17. It really wasn't even that close, honestly. They got that stupid garbage touchdown again at the end of the game like last week. And I heard one of the players talking about that this week in some interviews going, we need to tighten down on that a little bit. I think it was DJ Derwin saying, we're like not digging, letting that happen anymore. So I like that perspective. But it was a good win, home turf, against a team that wasn't a pushover despite their record. And so let's just kind of get into some overall, and we'll drill down on both sides of the ball. Brennan, give me your overall take on this game, man.
So this might be a hot take Chargers fans don't like. I'm actually kind of sad to see the score. It was a great win, but personally, you probably saw my prediction. I think it could have been way farther of a point differential than just 10 points, 27-17. There was a couple drop passes in the end zone that I don't know if they converted as a TD after that drop, but Hayden Hurst and Will Dissly both had two wide open end zone touchdowns. So, and then that garbage touchdown by the Titans at the end. So I think could have been way of a farther, not even close game. But overall, I think we did the same thing as the Browns and the Saints game. We won like we were supposed to. Our offense again stepped it up from the last week, and our defense continued to kill it.
Yeah, it's a good assessment, and it definitely, like I said, it wasn't as close as the score even made it appear with a 10-point win. We probably could have put more points on the board, but you just take that 7 off the board for them, which, again, it was garbage time. We knew we had the game in the bag, and it's a much bigger margin of victory than 10 points. So, Andrew, what are your thoughts on this one? Big picture.
The word balance just sticks out to me.
Big time.
Both sides of the football played excellent. What is this? So is this week 10? This is what I want to see from a week 10 roster on both sides of the ball. And, as we dig into the offense and dig into the defense, I'll repeat myself, but I do want to start off by saying, going into this game, I wanted to see what Gus Edwards was going to look like coming back, because there was those conversations about, did he have surgery? I don't know if you guys heard the rumors. We just weren't exactly sure what was going on with Gus Edwards. And the first few weeks,
training camp, if you remember. So we didn't really have an answer.
The first couple of weeks, it didn't look all that great from Gus Edwards, but we got a whole different version of Gus Edwards, and I couldn't be more happy about it, because we don't have the backfield that really shows elusive check down opportunities with these guys as far as the way that they play. But a two-headed monster is definitely something that these guys can be, and they showed that. And I think the stats showed that. So that was just really awesome to see Gus Edwards kind of getting the rock going. Yeah, and then the receivers played well, defense played well. Most importantly, going forward, Justin Herbert, the mobility from Justin Herbert. I think that that's kind of the missing link whenever we don't have a lot of money when it comes to receivers or a receiving tight end. Well, I always knew that if Justin can kind of heal up, that mobility would make up the difference. And in this style of offense, it's awesome, and it's exactly what we need. And we're in such a good position going forward that, yeah, balance was what I took away from this game.
Balance is a great word for it, and balance between run and pass, balance between offense and defense. And you know what? Go ahead and throw special teams in there, okay? Special teams contributed and was very balanced between J.K. and Dicker. And, of course, Darius gave us another spark to start the second half on that first possession. So, I mean, this is a Jim Harbaugh team. I mean, if you guys can't see Jim Harbaugh's, and I'm not talking to you guys because I know you guys watch this stuff, but you guys out there, if you can't see Jim Harbaugh's fingerprints all over this team now in Week 10, then you didn't do any research on Harbaugh before we hired him. And I didn't need to do any research because I'm a fanboy of Harbaugh's, and I have been for a long time. But balance is it. And, you know, Harbaugh's teams, they're not the glitzy teams. They've never been glitzy. Doesn't mean they don't have splash plays, but they're going to grind you, pound you, pound you. And bringing Justin's legs into the game is the kind of the cherry on top of that Sunday. Because now the defenses are like, they don't know what to do. And I heard somebody else mention it this weekend. Herbert is so big and so strong, they don't realize how fast he is. And then all of a sudden he's past them. I mean, he's got another gear. So it was a really nice game to see all these facets kind of, you know, starting to fire like we were hoping when we were talking, you know, weeks 2 and weeks 3. The offense kind of steady Eddie for all 4 quarters, which is really nice. You know, no major letdowns. That first drive looked really good, and then we had the letdown of getting stopped and having to kick the field goal. That for me was probably the biggest letdown. It's like, no, man, you got to get those touchdowns. But a couple things to kind of tangent off here. Yeah, I had the same thing: balance, solid execution, efficiency is another one. I think if you look at the numbers of this game, guys, you want to talk about comparing the two teams, because statistically, we didn't blow these guys out. If you look at the stats, okay, total yards 378 to 366, 12-yard difference between us and the Titans. Okay, rushing 122 to 117, 5 yards. We outrushed them by 5 yards. Passing yards 256 to 249. Okay, so we outpassed them by 7 yards. That's like equal. The only big difference is no turnovers on either side, but 7 sacks, and we were just flat out more efficient. When we got the opportunities to score, we did. And our defense, again, it's kind of that bend, don't break. You know, other than once the game's out of touch in the fourth quarter. So the defense it's a thing of beauty, man. And they're going to get their test this week. It's not time to talk about this coming week yet, but this is going to be, we'll get into this. But what are your thoughts on the offense, defense, you know, kind of drill down a little bit on this? Jump in, gentlemen.
So one thing I say after every single podcast we have is depth, and depth. I think that's one of the number one things Jim Harbaugh and the whole coaching staff, Greg Roman, Joe Ortiz, have been making sure that we have the right depth. So if players like Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack get on snap counts, people like a second-year maybe third year, Tuitu Pelotu, and an old Bud Dupree who's already been on a couple teams. Never would you thought of they will be combined for 4 sacks. And Dayon Henley even got one as well as the linebacker. So
and
I thought
Puna got one too.
Puna got a great one. So I just that's just like one piece of our team that has the depth. But our whole team is really showing that if some of those players are going down, we got backups that are very reliable, like our cornerbacks, some of the safeties, especially on our defense. So I just wanted to highlight the depth players. I think was a big key from for us still being kind of on the edge of being okay and not good to, wow, we actually might make the playoffs. Because one thing about the Chargers is we've dealt with the injury plague as long as I've been born. So I think it's been very important that we have guys that actually can back up, can be a serviceable starter for the time being. So that was pretty cool to see a lot of those guys. I'm very repetitive with that, but I think that was very important.
Brennan, that's something that had to be mentioned about this game in depth for a couple reasons, but let's just talk about the edge, okay? Joey got one of those 7 sacks, okay? Khalil, I think we talked about it. We saw it the last game, late in the fourth quarter. He had something go wrong. I think it was his right leg, and he was wincing, went to the sideline. Looked like a groin. Sure enough, this week they were reporting it as a groin. I believe he only played 4 snaps this game. And, Joey's still on a pitch count. So Thule and Bud held down the fort in this game, and we got 7 sacks. There's a reason Mac was able to rest, is because those guys were holding down the fort, and he didn't have to go in and maybe risk making that injury worse. Knowing the stretch of games we've got coming up, 100% Mac is really going to be important. And so that depth is paying huge dividends. And of course, we've been talking for weeks now about those rookie cornerbacks. Who would have figured, 2 fifth-round rookie cornerbacks balling out like they are? So, yeah, I don't know if you've got any more to comment on that, but we would have just been doing the team a complete injustice, and Ortiz, we would have been doing just complete injustice if we didn't talk about the depth and the role players on this team. Big time. Molden, that was a huge pickup, and you could go down the list, so...
Yeah, I kind of wanted to highlight that we had a couple former Titans and there was a couple former Chargers, and you saw who got the good end of the deal with Elijah Molden being locked down. Hassan Haskins got in the end zone, and he's our third running back in the depth chart. And then on the other side, Kenneth Murray's ankles were torn completely to pieces by 6'6", 240-pound quarterback. So, I think we got the correct end on that. He also let a touchdown go, so to Quentin Johnston. So I thought I wanted to highlight that too, that we picked up a good amount of pieces that I was getting hate for posting, and Titans fans said they weren't going to do good, but we kind of got the last laugh of that, showing the game.
Absolutely. Sebastian Joseph Day, we got him. We got Kenneth Murray. And if anyone who's watching the podcast, and you guys have heard me, I've been saying it almost every game that I would take our guy over Kenneth Murray any day of the week. And he played exactly how he played for us. The guy's on skates. The guy overcommits. I could go down the list on the things that Kenneth Murray does wrong, and I know it's easy for me to say that on the other side of the screen, but it is what it is, guys. That's how the guy plays. And Kirk, you said it so well earlier, Harbaugh is just all over this team. I hung out with one of my good friends over the weekend. We went for a drive, who was a big Broncos fan. And I said, we're talking ball, and I'm like, our teams are kind of similar in the sense that we're not this, we don't have these necessarily all-stars, but we have I guess you could say that their coach is pretty good, our coach is pretty good, but what exactly is the difference? And I was like, well, it's what comes with Harbaugh. That's what's making all the difference in our success. Yeah, we've got some good players, but it's not like we have this top-heavy roster with this money at the receiver position and things like that. I was like, we got a defensive coach who's coaching lights out, and Giro is legit, and these guys, the Harbaugh cast is putting it all together perfectly for the type of guys that we have. And you look at these other teams who are top-heavy in the league, like the Dallas Cowboys are the most perfect example. Spent a ton of money on Dak Prescott, a ton of money on C.D. Lamb. Look what happened to them. And look what happened before that he got hurt. They weren't doing shit. That says so much about Harbaugh.
Yeah, well, and Ortiz. I mean, and those guys are, they're joined at the hip. I've seen it for years, and I know we've kind of talked about it here on the pod. Back when they formed a dream team, what was it, Philly, back in the day, I think, put together a dream team. You've had a couple of these football teams who tried to do like they do in pro basketball, and it doesn't work. Football is the ultimate team sport, and you heard it from John Harbaugh in an early quote before the season even kicked off. He said his brother Jim is the best team builder in the world, not just in pro sports, in any sport. He's the best team builder, and that's coming from a guy who's pretty damn good at it himself. So you have to have a couple stars, especially like the QB, and this is probably by far the best QB Harbaugh's ever had. But he gets guys to play within the scheme, play all out, and we're starting to see the fruits of all that effort here in Week 10, and we're going to be hitting the stretch here that we'll get into here in a moment. But, those are all really important aspects of what we saw this week that hopefully we'll continue to build on. We've got depth in a lot of places, and we've got guys who are stepping up, right? The NFL, and we've lived it as Chargers fans, and I know you could talk to a bunch of other fans and they'd probably also say the same thing. Oh, you guys don't have it any worse than us when it comes to injuries, right? I don't know about you guys, but I feel plagued in my 40 years of watching this team and the level of injuries that we have versus other teams. But every team's dealing with it, especially later you get in the season. And you have to win championships. And the Patriots are a great example of this. And I was never a fan of the Patriots. I'm more of a fan of the Patriots now that their dynasty's over and look back on it, and what they accomplished was remarkable. But as you're going through it, I just hated them. Completely hated them. But they had so many role players contribute to those championships. And you're starting to see we've got some really key, important role players on this team that can pop in a moment's notice and fill a vacancy. And Jesse Minter's philosophy is I'm putting the best 11 on the field. They may not be at the exact position, so he's moving them around like chess pieces.
And
so
to segue on that, what you just said, look at the situation that DJ Shark, we were all kind of expecting this crazy DJ Shark thing. Well, guess what? The rest of the guys are playing so well, it was kind of like we kind of found out that, he only got one rep because we don't need you to go in. So not to say that his time isn't coming and he's not going to make great plays and he's not valued. That's not the case. It's a reflection of kind of what you just said. Like, everybody's stepping up and everybody's doing their job at a high clip.
Yeah, Harbs talked about it. He's like, hey, look, it just kind of wasn't really a place in the rotation. Everybody's doing their job. And he even commented Rager. He's like, that guy's a football player. Which is one of the highest level compliments you can get from Harbaugh, is to be called a football player. So we'll see. We need his speed, and so it'll be interesting to see them work him back into the mix. But I was watching all game, and I saw him in one rep, and it was like, oh, well, I guess we don't need him this week. We're rolling pretty good. So
yeah, once Quentin Johnson came back, QJ, that put a lot of relief and less of me wanting Chark in, because I think Joshua Palmer, I don't know if he heard us during the podcast or heard me specifically, but there was the trade talks and then us being like, well, we were expecting wide receiver 1, but he's the last couple games, he's been scoring touchdowns. He's been getting wide open. So him, Ladd, and Quentin Johnston, I'm actually really happy about how they're shaping up to become. And I'm excited to see what DJ Chark can do. But like Andrew said, we were expecting a super big thing, but we kind of didn't need it because Herbert was throwing it perfect, right on the money to QJ, Quentin Johnston, even Will Dissly, a couple catches, and that Jalen Reagor pass, I know it was -2 yards, but that was probably one of the best plays I've seen by a guy who's been called one of the biggest wide receiver busts in the last 5 years. So Herbert threw it pretty bad because he was under pressure, and the guy snagged it with one hand somehow, and then kind of leaped to get some more yards. That could easily been a fumble, a backwards pass, or backwards pass, or that could have easily been 6-7 yards back. So he really saved us from disaster, that play for sure. So
just catching that, because that was a backwards pass, and I puckered there for a second when I saw it, and he made a great catch. Who cares at that point if he lost yardage? Just to not have a turnover, because they were on that play, and I was like, oh no. And he caught it and just kind of held his ground. That was probably that and that one where, they called it back, where it looked like it was going to be a fumble return for a touchdown. Those are probably the two worst plays in the game from our standpoint, obviously. But, I think we should probably just touch on special teams too. Maybe just to finish up on the receivers. Yeah, our guys, I saw something this a week or two ago, and I think you guys probably saw it too. I think it was on Instagram. Somebody called us the worst wide receiver group in the NFL. One of those people who make lists or whatever, who don't know who the heck they are. And I'm just sitting there going, oh, that's total BS. We might be in the bottom half, or the bottom third, but to call us 32nd out of 32, no, I think I can go find a couple wide receiver rooms that are worse than us. Ladd's starting to come into his own. Palmer's Palmer, and QJ, he's being used right now. He's a great contributor. He's the leading wide touchdown scorer of the wide receiver group.
He also has more touchdowns than Jordan Addison and Jackson Smith-Njigba, which were in the same class as him, regarded as two of the best receivers in that class, or ones with a lot of talent at least. So I started in rep. I wanted to highlight that he has more touchdowns than some of those guys. So we definitely don't have the worst wide receiver core.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. And I think they're within the system. They're all acclimating to the system. Again, we're seeing growth in all areas of this team as each week goes by. If you guys don't have anything to add to that, we'll just kind of give some kudos to special teams. Yeah, no major screw-ups, which is the first thing you want on special teams is coverage units cover. No major screw-ups. And our coverage units, they've been good. I don't recall having any really crazy long returns against us. Dicker just did his job this week. Nothing spectacular, but money. JK, nothing spectacular, but steady. No shanks, no crazy boomers or anything, but they just held down their own. And, another week, Double D gives us a little spark that turns into points. So, it's all good, I think, on the special teams front. Pickens is doing his job, earning his keep.
Dicker made all his kicks. Sound special teams play. It's exactly what we need. And if we're just so lucky to flip the field, great.
Yeah, that's all you're looking for is, can you flip the field between a return, if so you're not pinned back, or can your punter flip the field when you are pinned back, even if you don't get, say, even if you go 3 and out. And I saw something. I think we, up until this game, I don't know if we are past this game, but we were leading the league in 3 and outs, or at least the rate of 3 and outs, the percentage for drives. So we've got a lot of room still. As we're continuing to improve, we've got a lot of room to get more better and more consistent and potentially more dominant. So, you guys want to roll into the new week?
Yeah, why not?
All right. Well, the fun now begins, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Okay, if you thought it's been fun up until now, these next few weeks, it gets fun. And what's really cool is 3 of the next 4 weeks are primetime games, too. This coming week got flexed primetime. So I think we're Sunday, Monday, and then a regular Sunday game, and then another Sunday night game. So this week, we have a home game against the Cincinnati Bengals, and it got flexed to Sunday Night Football. Now, the Bengals, their record belies their capabilities. They're 4-6, and I think we all know what they're capable of doing. And they're also going to be coming in because they played Thursday Night Football this week. They're coming in with 10 days of rest into a Sunday night game. And it is not nearly as difficult to fly west when you're traveling than it is to go east when you're traveling. The jet lag it's not the same. Those two things are not equal. And so that's not going to affect them as much as far as their bodies go flying into SoFi to play a night game. But hopefully we have a big home field advantage. Seems like the fans are starting to get excited. SoFi is getting a little loud, a little raucous. But this is going to be a tough one, man. We all know about their offense. Just give you some stats here, some general information if you guys haven't looked it up. They are offensively, they're the 4th passing offense in the league. They're the 29th rushing offense in the league. Defensively, they're only ranked 23rd. 23rd against the pass. Surprisingly, 17th against the run. Okay, so there are no pushovers, but our defense needs to bring their A game this week. Big time.
Yeah, absolutely. The fun begins. This is the start for the conversations of anyone who said the Chargers haven't played any of those tough offenses. Well, we're about to find out a whole lot about that because Joe Burrow is an upper echelon quarterback. We all know what Jamar Chase is. They've been without T. Higgins, but not sure if he's going to play in this game or not. But they've got capable guys like this. So Chase Brown, so they don't have a run game. Their run game is literally a checkdowns, which I have pause for because if there's one thing that I've kind of noticed about our defense that we could improve at is checkdowns where guys have a little bit of space, give us a little bit of fits for whatever reason. And Chase Brown's pretty damn good at it. Like I said, that's kind of like their run game. Like, if you go back and not just the Baltimore game, like that's what they do. They sit in shotgun and they check it down to Chase Brown in space. So that is definitely something that we're probably going to see. But just like the situation with the wide receiver from last week, what's his name? Who am I thinking? The Titans wide receiver.
Yeah.
Anyway, Calvin Ridley. The way that we were kind of coach the guys, figure it out, shut that down. I would assume that we're going to do that with Chase Brown. We're going to kind of nip that in the butt. But we're going to have our hands full with these guys. But I think we're definitely more than capable. Anyways, I don't want to get too far into that. But they've got guys like Mike Gesicki's a good tight end. Andre Yoshiba he's been having success. Jermaine Burton played at Alabama. He is a good wide receiver. They're a good team. But I think we're definitely more than capable of handling them for sure.
Yeah, Gesicki's their second leading receiver. Jamar Chase almost has 1,000 yards already in the season. So you know who the go-to guy is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw something interesting, actually, and I wanted to say it on the pod. And once I give you guys some comparisons, it's going to make a lot of sense. But a lot of people are comparing the Browns 2024 season to the Chargers 2021 season. Great QB, great offense, some key players on offense on the wide receiver side, but a mediocre defense who just cannot seem to put it all together and win. And I agree with that. When Justin Herbert was having some of his best seasons, breaking all these passing and TD records, NFL and Chargers franchise history, we weren't winning games. That was the whole thing about bringing Harbaugh in. And I think as of right now, they're 4-6. That's not how the Bengals have been in the last 3 years. So I kind of agree with that. I just wanted to kind of put it out there. It was a very interesting take. But I kind of saw all the comparisons. But just to give a quick overview, offense is amazing. Their defense is definitely mediocre, in my opinion. 23rd definitely is in the bottom half. If we can handle them on offense, I think this is going to be a pretty good game for us. But it's definitely going to be the first barn burner other than the Cardinals game. I think we're going to see a very, very high-scoring game.
Yeah, we're definitely going to see what Jesse Mentor, what his capabilities of scheming are, because this is definitely the first truly high-powered. I wouldn't consider the Cardinals high-powered. They're skilled. They've got some skill, but this is a pretty high-powered offense through the air.
I would agree.
So this is where Jesse's gonna, he's gonna show us a little bit here. I think we've got the people, we've got the bodies, we've got the talent, we've got the scheme to. You're never gonna stop these guys. That's one thing you have to know going in. You're never going to fully stop them. They're getting paid too, and they're really, really good at what they do. You just have to limit their opportunities to a couple less than our offense gets, right? Again, this is a game about outscoring the opponent. So, they could put up a little more on our defense than right now. We're still the number one scoring defense in the league. These guys could put up, be the highest one yet, theoretically, of the season. Fortunately for us, their defense isn't lights out, and our offense is starting to come around, so we might be able to outscore them as long as our defense kind of keeps us in check. A couple things I was looking at as far as keys to the game. From an offensive standpoint, you're going to hear this one every week. We got to protect Justin because everything goes through him, and not overly concerned looking at their defensive statistics that our offensive line shouldn't be able to hold up pretty good. And, that keeps Justin as a dual threat, right, which is hugely important. And then we need to have long drives. We need to have sustained drives. The more we can keep Burrow and Chase off the field, that's the best defense, right? Just limit their opportunities. So if we can, instead of trying to be a high-powered offense, be who we kind of are and methodically just matriculate the ball down the field, use our running game. They've got a poor running defense, right? They're 20, whatever it was. And so use the two-headed monster, run the ball down their throats, and take time off the clock. And, of course, if they have a defensive breakdown like Justin has shown here in the last few weeks, sure, if they're going to just have a breakdown, take it. But otherwise, we don't want to get in a shootout, is my point with these guys. That is not the recipe to beat these guys. We need to dominate physically, and I think we can do that on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, a big key matchup that I want to kind of circle is going to be, is it Trey Henderson? Is that his name? Yeah, Trey Hendrickson. He is a awesome edge rusher. So, but I have no doubt that Slater is going to be up for the challenge. I don't think they had him in our previous meeting the last time we played them. But that's going to be, if they can hold it down with him and keep him at bay, I think our offensive front can definitely manage that. And like you said, keep Burrow off the field. Don't get him and Chase, give them any momentum that they don't need. And get Burrow and make him, put him in the grass. Like that guy, when I watch him play, that's just a huge difference when I separate Herbert and Burrow, is the physicality aspect as players. I see Burrow get knocked around in games, holding his hand. You got to get after him. You got to get after him, hurt him, keep him off the field. Yeah, but who's to say? We don't know if the Bengals can do what, the Ravens lost to the Browns. If our defense shows up, we come calculated, they may not put up a lot of points on us. We don't know. That's kind of the cliche conversation that a lot of people will put put a bow on is they're a high scoring offense. It's like, well, they haven't played us yet. And that's the other thing. We handle business in this game. So much confidence for this team. So much. And at a perfect stretch at a perfect time. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you guys couldn't have said it any better. I think people are thinking it's going to be a close, tight-knit game because the last couple of matchups we had with them have always been to the very last second in very high-scoring games. But if our defense gives it to them, I agree with Andrew. Burrow's not as physical and as tough as Herbert, in my opinion. Herbert's just, like Harbaugh says, a beast, half human, half beast. So I think, not to get too away from myself, but I think if we play good old smash mouth football on both sides of the football, like you guys said, and be physical with everybody we got on the line, I think it could be a very, very one-sided game in our favor more than people think, based off if we play like we have been last couple of weeks.
Yeah, a couple comments on that. Number one is I think you could almost throw out past games because it's not under this new regime. And I think we can all agree this team is an entirely different team, even with a lot of the superstars still being the same players. This is not a Staley team, not even close. Okay, so that's one thing. I put it this way. If we came out of this game and we held them to 13, 14 points, I wouldn't be shocked. I would not be shocked at all. I think we have the capability of doing that, but we haven't gone up against an offense like this yet. So, they got to prove it. But I think we're capable of doing it. Go ahead. I thought you had something there, Andrew.
No, you're good. I was just agreeing with you.
Yeah, I mean, we have an opportunity to prove ourselves here. Go back to this week's game against the Titans, right? That first drive, they let a guy get away, our defense, let Ridley get away, and they struck for that 44-yard touchdown, 41-yard touchdown, and then we tightened up. Okay, I wouldn't be shocked if we have one of those take place in this game. Those guys are super talented. We see something that maybe wasn't on some tape we studied, and they get an easy one on us. And then I could see Mentor rallying the boys and tightening things up and keeping them in check. So it's going to be an interesting game to watch for sure. And I'll just go back to, while Mentor's awesome and our defense has been playing awesome, in a game like this, our best defense is going to be a really good offense and not a high-powered, strike-quick offense, because that's not to our advantage. We don't want to get shootout with these guys. We want to have a meticulous offense that's grinding, making positive yards, wearing down their defense, because in the fourth quarter, you know how that turns out. Just wear down that defense and keep Burrow over there, because he's going to be getting frustrated, sitting on the bench, twiddling his friggin' thumbs, and then Mac's healthy, Joey's doing better, we got Thule and Bud, pound him. Pound the crap out of him. Don't over-blitz him because of that screen game you're talking about, Andrew. We do not want to overcommit and let that screen game beat us. We need to, play sound defense, but send those edges after him. He is not as good of a quarterback after his uniform gets dirty, and he's been ground into the ground a couple times. So I think those are our recipes for success in this game. I think the team we're capable of performing, but there's a reason they play the games. They got to go out and execute.
Yeah. We have every reason to believe that whatever comes our way, we can combat that, like you touched on with the Titans. I mean, how bad was that momentum shift when we faced the Browns when they were getting after Justin? Like, there was a moment where I was like, oh,
no.
it's just bad. Like, we can't stop this. And it's just because we're dealing with some specimens. Like, and we have considerably about to be, you could argue Slater's an all-pro, or at least he's going to be an all-pro, and Alt's on his way, but we figured it out. We made an adjustment, and then all of a sudden it was like we forgot about those guys. And then the important part of just playing balanced football just bled through. So that's what we got to continue in this game, is keep doing what we've been doing, and we have a lot of things just working in our favor. Two-headed monster idea. If Gus Edwards can continue to bring that success, finding his lanes, bringing a good complement with JK, great. Receivers keep doing what they're doing, and when Justin's got to do what Justin's got to do, we have every reason to believe we can win this game. In the offseason, this was a game that I had marked as losing, and I know we'll get into predictions in a little bit, but I do have us winning this game. Absolutely.
Yeah, you guys have been saying this a little bit throughout us talking about the Bengals, but I think regardless of their offense and how it's doing, for example, Burrow's having one of the best seasons of his career, and Jamar Chase had the best game of his career, and they still lost those games, and they're still 4-6. So them having a high-powered offense and scoring 4 touchdowns a game, not necessarily should we be scared, because they still can't finish the games. And I think with Harbaugh and the new Harbaugh era we have, we will jump on those mistakes that they have. We will capitalize on their errors, and they're 4-6 for a reason, regardless of their the strength and weakness of the schedule. They're 4-6 for a reason. Any given Sunday, and I definitely think we're a little more put together of a football team. You kind of can't just say it's going to be a hard game because of their offense. Well, it's offense and defense, and their defense is 23rd overall, so they 23rd ranked. So they're where I'm trying to get at is it's going to be definitely more interesting than people think, and I don't think it's going to be Jamar Chase with 200 yards, Joe Burrow with 4 touchdowns, 300 yards. I don't think that's going to happen. And even if they do, I still think we're going to win, because they can't capitalize on those big plays and win. But this year we're proving that we are, and that we have been showing the capitalizing.
Yeah, this is going to be a different game. This opponent is a different opponent than what we faced, especially last couple weeks. And so it's going to be a different game plan. The beautiful thing is the way we've built our team is it's capable of winning against all kinds of different opponents, because that recipe is just sound football, and so that works on almost any other opponent, whether they're grind it or they're, air it out. Our recipe of offensive defense works compatible with each other to grind out those games. So we'll see. And I like the comparison you made, Brennan. Look when Justin, came in and he's lighting the world on fire. Look at this offseason when we let, Mike and Keenan go, and all of the fanboys were just whining like crazy. But back in those days, and I was out there on social media saying, look, I hear what you're saying, but would you rather have Keenan make a splash catch on the sidelines and lose the game? Or do you want wins? Okay. This is about wins. And all of a sudden you get real excited if it's just a ground and pound with Gus and JK, but it's a W at the end of the day. It's amazing how exciting you can get when the clock runs out and there's, it's a W on the board, even if you don't have those, just highlight reel plays. And so that's the team we're that team. And it's a great comparison of how these guys are 4-6 right now. They're throwing it all over the yard, but they're not winning those close games. And, now we've got a defense that's holding opponents to a very manageable score for our offense to score at least one more point. Now we're scoring, fortunately, most of these were scoring 10-plus points more. This one might be a little closer, but it's going to be interesting to see how this game unfolds, because it's a much different opponent than anything we've faced so far. And the good thing is their defense is 23rd, and they're very susceptible to the run in particular, which is, I think, like I've stated, that to me is our recipe for success. Is just run it down their throat, have 10-minute drives, and just take the clock, just grind the clock, and keep Joe Burrow and Chase over on the sidelines. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out. I remember back in Phillips' days, we had a few games against some really high-powered teams, the Peyton Manning teams, the Tom Brady teams, and we had a few games where we just grind it out, and Peyton Manning they'd pan to Peyton Manning on the sidelines, and you can see he's just getting frustrated because he's not getting the ball. I mean, that's one thing. We had Peyton's number pretty much during Phillips' tenure. We played them pretty well. The Patriots, unfortunately, not quite as well. They usually were able to squeak them out against us. So we'll see how this one goes. Any last comments before we kind of get into where we stand in the AFC West, get into our game predictions?
I just want to say that the Bengals have a lot to play for when it comes down to this game. But with that said, Justin Herbert, from what I've been hearing from the PFF guys, all the stat gurus, and it all lines up. And that's one thing they all kind of failed to mention. So what I'm about to say is, since basically after he got off his injury, Justin Herbert is playing the best football as far as throwing the football. He's playing the quarterback position better than any quarterback in the NFL. And that's coming from my homer take. That's literally the stat nerds out there that are saying, hey, when you talk about a player who's throwing the football the best, it is Justin Herbert. And I don't know if they're talking about after week whatever, but it's like, oh yeah, when he got the tape off of his legs and couldn't take a snap up from under center. Yeah, and I'm not surprised. And I know this is kind of not the best year for quarterbacks, but I'm just saying, with a leader like that and the potential and the way that Justin's playing, I'm not too afraid of the fact that the Bengals have, they're going to come with that, because this game is so important to them. They cannot drop this game. They almost got to win out. They got to turn this thing around. But I feel like we've just got everything going for us, and that balanced formula that I'm all for it.
I would say this game's important for us too.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, at this point, the margin's getting slimmer and slimmer to catch the Chiefs. It's not impossible. There's still a lot of football left to be played, but it's narrowing. That window is narrowing. And if we want to assure ourselves a playoff spot, each one of these games is going to be critical at this point. So our boys are going to be pretty much primed up, I think, too. Not to mention it's a primetime game. So they're going to be hyped up. They're going to be on the limelight. It's the only game going on, and it's on their home field. It's going to be a fun one.
I'm really curious to see, honestly, and I haven't looked at the odds, but there's a part, and there's a part of me that what if we're the underdogs going into this game just because of the media? I haven't looked at it, but
I think we're 2-point favorites.
Okay, good.
I'd be surprised if we were the underdog.
2 points, yeah. 2-point favorites.
Okay,
that's what I saw like 2 days ago. So it could have changed, but I'm pretty sure it's still 2-point favorites.
I just find that concept interesting, just because of talk to any casual NFL fans, they're gonna sit there and go, Chargers aren't beating the Bengals, But yeah, I was just curious.
Yeah, and that PFF rating after week 7, so these last 3 weeks, he is the highest graded QB, and then I don't know about this week, but the week 8 and 9, he was the highest graded NFL player. You can't say that about Burrow. You can't say that about some of these guys we're playing. He was the highest graded NFL player. 53-man roster, 32 teams, and he was the highest graded player. No matter if he's not throwing 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, he's playing the best football of his career. So I think it's not just going to be oh, if our defense can do this, I think he's going to sling it on him, and I think he's going to break some more ankles. I think after that injury, in the last couple of games, he's realized, oh, I can run the ball really good. So I think that's going to help out. And last thing I have to say is just this season feels different. Harbaugh coming in, I'm seeing so many more happy Charger fans. I'm seeing the stadium more filled than ever before. The locker room isn't divided. You have Joey Bosa giving a game ball to Jim Harbaugh, and then you have Jim Harbaugh giving one to Joe Ortiz. Never has that happened in Chargers franchise where they're all giving thanks, and a lot of them are after the post game are yelling out people's names that they think deserved it. They're singing, "He's a jolly good fellow," and I just think it's a great, great locker room, and it's a great chemistry and atmosphere that we're building for the Chargers. So I'm excited in the next couple of years and the next couple of games to see what this is going to switch into, because I feel like we were in a dark, deep hole crawled up in a little ball with Staley, and I think we're flapping our butterfly wings now, because it's never what I thought we'd be 6-3, because that last time that happened was in 2014, so almost a decade.
Well, I think I don't want to say it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, but it kind of it adds to itself in both directions. When you start losing, things kind of unravel. You start winning, and it starts reinforcing what you're being taught and the environment. And so, one of the things Harbaugh's been very good at coming in and starting new programs and having success right away. And then that breeds more success. So, yeah, everybody's buying in. Harbaugh's just got that little mix of quirkiness and intensity at the same time. And he's, one of the shrewdest football minds around as well. That's why we were so excited to get the guy in. And so far, we're seeing the fruits of that start to play out. As far as Justin goes, once he started feeling like he could use that ankle again and get mobile, my goodness, his game has just taken off. And part of that, too, if you remember, he was basically sidelined all of training camp. So, he got some reps early on, but then he had that injury that they threw the word plantar fasciitis out there, but I don't think it was an actual plantar fasciitis injury. But remember, he was in a walking boot. So he got mental reps, but he didn't get all those reps. And so now he's getting them, and now he's getting healthy. And you're starting to see in this system, Justin doesn't have to sling it all over the field, but he can. It's the dynamic here is phenomenal. And I think you're seeing it with Justin. Remember a game or two ago, Justin really started bringing some attitude. You saw it again this game. He got up after he got that first down and juked that cornerback and nearly broke his ankles. And he's pointing. He was going to spike the ball, and he decided not to, probably because he thought, I'll get a penalty for it. But you're seeing some of that fire in his belly. And Jim's bringing that out. I think Jim's bringing that out.
Yeah. Sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, man.
Just a quick little piggyback on that. It's funny you said that, because I actually went through Justin Herbert's Instagram. This might sound weird, but I went through his Instagram for his first 2 seasons, and it was good game, or we'll get him next time, or I love my teammates. Harbaugh's opened this guy up to be such a personality, man. He's posting stuff being like, Chad, is this a W? Being like, some other, like, repeating some stuff, or smell you later. Like, his captions are just like reassuring that he's getting some charisma, he's getting spunk, and I think that's because of Jim Harbaugh. And it's cool to see, because he's always been the guy to shy away from the camera and be a little joke, but he's dead serious. He's just an introverted guy, but now that he's got more spunk and charisma, like I said earlier, it's really cool and actually, like, funny to see him opening up and being this different beast on the field.
Yeah, those mic'd ups are awesome. You can totally see the culture change. Some of the media that got a glimpse of it, they said this team is bought in, and it's absolutely the truth. And as Charger fans, we're just like, this is exactly what we thought it was going to be, and it's kind of all that and hopefully more as it goes forward. But just a quick kind of stat, and I'm going to post this on my page to be more specific about it, just to stop bragging about Justin. But Justin is number one in big time throws.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that stat means it's after 20 yards. I don't know the specifics on what exactly that means, but he's number one. But when it comes to attempt, he's like 11th. So he's 11th in like actual attempts on those big time throws, but he's number one, and the closest guy is still like 6 throws behind Justin as far as nailing those throws. That says a shit ton about Justin Herbert, guys. It just totally validates where I just ride for this guy, like our quarterback. When it comes to dropping a ball in a bucket, Herbo does it. He's like that. Where I want that.
10 games, 1 interception.
Yeah,
that's impressive.
Yeah, I mean he is. He can. There isn't a throw he can't make. I don't know if we've ever seen him fully like show the strength of his arm. I have to guess he's got 80 in him if he had to in the air. But his accuracy is phenomenal. His arm strength, you know, he's got it all. He's a complete package. If you guys want to see something really fun, if you haven't already seen this, probably most of the people who are watching this are pretty much hardcore Bolt fan like we are. But today's Tuesday. What's the date today? The 12th. It's Tuesday the 12th. It was on the Chargers social media today. I think it might have been a story. I don't know if it was a post, but it was a practice. It was some practice today and some interaction with Harbs and Herbert. And you want to just see something totally fun. I posted it. I added it to my story on Insta. Dude, Harbaugh just brings it out. I mean, he's got that quirky mix of intensity. Like Justin threw a ball and Harbs missed it, and he's like, damn it. You know, and he's like, spinning it good, Justin. You know, it just that whole dynamic. And we're seeing it manifest in our players and on the field. You know, the future's bright. I'll just kind of leave it with that because I could sit and go on and truly go full fanboy on it. But there's good things brewing in Bolt country for sure. And this is just a start. I believe we're just in the early stages of this. But this week we get another opportunity to see our team grow and hopefully get the W with it. Let's see. AFC West Standings after week 10. The freaking Chiefs are 9-0. The football gods blessed them with another win at the last minute. Freaking blocked a game-winning field goal over the Donkeys, which, you know, at this stage of the game, I'd rather see the Donkeys lose when it's head-to-head against those two. Because, like I said, the window's closing on our ability to catch the Chiefs. And the Donkeys are, you know, they were on our coattails there, vying. We were flip-flopping there for a couple weeks for second place. So now they're a couple games back. So we're sitting at 6-3. They're at 5-5. And right now, the one game we played with them, we've got the tiebreaker on them. We've got the head-to-head. And then, of course, the dysfunctional Las Vegas Raiders continue to lose, and they're still pulling up the rear at 2-7. So things are starting to stratify a little bit, as you typically see as we get later in the season. And we're in a good place. You know, I still feel like we could be and should be a 7-2 team. We let that Cardinals game get away with us against a team we probably should have beaten. That being said, the Cardinals been playing some pretty good ball, so I don't want to sit and knock the Cardinals. They won the game any given Sunday. They out-physicaled us, like I said. They really did. And maybe that was a wake-up call that we needed to move forward and not let that happen to us again. So game predictions, gentlemen. I don't know if we can really have any honorable mentions this week, though I will give Andrew slight honorable mention, I guess. The game was 27-17. You're as close as any of us, Andrew, at 32-14, but none of us really were too close on this one. It's a shame they got that garbage touchdown, but yeah, we were kind of all missed that. We were kind of all over the field on that one. I was 17-10, not even close. And Brennan, you weren't too far off, I guess, either, a little bit, 24-3. So, I mean, neither of us really had this one pinned down. And I think for the most part, our boys held their own real well, except for that garbage touchdown at the end. I would have much, much rather seen this be a 27-10 game. And I think they were feeling that afterwards, too. Like I said, I heard some comments and post-game pressers kind of saying we shouldn't let those garbage points, So I think they would have much appreciated to see the real score, which they felt it was, which is a 27-10 versus 27-17. So game predictions: Bolts Bengals, Sunday Night Football in our home turf of SoFi Stadium. Who wants the honors this week?
I'll start. All right. I'm gonna go. I think the Chargers are going to get it done.
Yep.
I think we're gonna do just enough to win. I don't think it's going to be pretty. I think that they're going to find success. But like we talked about, I think when it just comes down to playing the more balanced game and figuring it out and nipping and making those adjustments, I think the Chargers pull it off 27-24.
Ooh, you are so close to me. All right, 27-24.
Alrighty, and I feel like I'm way off one game. I try to learn from my mistakes and then do it from the last game, and then it just is the opposite again. So I don't think it's going to be too. I don't think it's going to be too high scoring of a game. But I do think it's going to be close. So I'm going to say 21-17 Chargers.
Okay. So pretty tight. And like I said, Andrew, you're pretty close to me. I'm feeling 27-21. I'm hoping we don't let them put 21 up on us. Like I said during that analysis, they're capable. I feel like if they get one of those big plays against us, Mentor's going to get his boys and tighten up on that thing, kind of clamp them down. So I hope they don't get there. But, yeah, that's what I got. So, Andrew, 27-24, Brendan, 21-17, and I've got the Bolts winning 27-21. So, as fanboys, we all have the Chargers winning, as we should. Any last comments there, boys? I think we covered it A to Z. Sweet. All right, well, let's wrap this up. That is it for another episode of ChargersCast. Appreciate you guys joining us, along with my buddies, Brennan from Chargers District, Andrew from Bolt Casa. If you guys haven't done it already, it's about time you do. Go down below, subscribe, click the little bell so you get notifications when our pods drop, and do us a favor, leave a comment, even if you just say hi. We see you out there. We see you're watching the pod. Drop us a line, say hi, or pop out to our Instagrams. Again, Brennan, Chargers District, Andrew, Bolt Casa, Kirk, ChargersCast. Say hi to us on Instagram as well. And without further ado, gentlemen, who's got it better than us?
Nobody.
That's right. Bolt up.
Bolt up.
Bolt up.
Hi, I'm Kirk Brewer, the creator and host of ChargersCast. I just wanted to say thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of ChargersCast. We really appreciate you engaging with the podcast. When I created ChargersCast, it was intended to be a podcast about everything Los Angeles Chargers from a fan perspective. It's by fans and for fans. So it's for you, and we really appreciate you being here. If you haven't done so already, please go down below, leave a comment, give us some feedback. We really love to hear from you. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe and click the little bell so that you get notifications when new content drops. Again, thank you so much for tuning in to ChargersCast. And who's got it better than us? Nobody.